Hello everybody and welcome back to your weekly PlayStation podcast, Talking the PS, where we round up all of your PlayStation and cloud gaming goodness for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games, or up there in the digital clouds on your podcast preference of choice. You join me this week, Chris, alongside my two lovely co-hosts, once again the man of many pixels, Mr. Richie.
Hello everyone.
And soon to be the host, at the time this show goes live, of the XPass podcast for episode 1. Congratulations.
That was yesterday.
Yeah, that was yesterday, I guess. Yeah, X gonna give it to you. And joining us as well, our chaotic neutral right below us, Rob as well, returning once again.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, yeah. We're recording this just before XPass, so at the time of recording, we don't know what we've said. We don't know if we screwed it up, if it went off without a hitch. But that's not what you're here for
awesome.
today.
It was the best ever Xbox podcast.
Now, do I go out of my way as a host of a rival PlayStation podcast to undermine everything that we do in that show?
Is that going to be the new meta for Helix Cloud Games, a rivalry between me and you? You represent the PlayStation, I represent the Xbox.
That's a complete flip of the mantra of play wherever makes you happy, right?
It is true, yeah, that is completely true. This is the final thing after 25 plus years that's going to break mine and Richie's friendship is console war rivalry, of course.
Where we both have literally the same consoles.
Yeah, we do. There's no actual rivalry, of course, here, because we're all friends and we're here to bring you
Team
all
Switch.
the PlayStation news. Don't throw another one into the mix. Don't do that.
We're already busy enough.
We're already busy enough juggling all these multiple shows. Wonderful shows, I will say. And you can check them all out right here on YouTube, as I mentioned. But you won't notice all those new shows if you don't click like, if you don't click that bell, subscribe, so you're kept in the loop with all of that fantastic content. Aside from those shows, we also do wonderful live streams and first looks spread out across the channel, multiple platforms, multiple games, and we've checked out loads of them recently as well. We've got Plague Tale Requiem up there, we've got Scorn, we've got Sea of Thieves, we've got Grounded, and this past Thursday, Richie, what did we jump into? Can you remember on the spot?
Yes, we played State of Decay 2.
We did, with it being Halloween, of course, yesterday. Hope you all had a happy Halloween. I know loads of you out there love celebrating it, dressing up. I've noticed as well with Halloween, more video game characters kind of making their way into the common pop culture world of dressing up. It's no longer just scary things. Not that it's been scary things for a while.
Video games is the biggest form of entertainment nowadays.
Yeah, absolutely. I was shopping in Tesco yesterday, getting some bits and pieces, and there was this kid who must have been about probably 14, I would say, just based on his height, just straight up dressed as a Mandalorian, walking around Tesco. And I was like, no other members of his family were dressed up. Just this kid, like full on helmet, cape, everything, walking through like the confectionery aisle in a Tesco supermarket.
It's
like,
possible
okay.
He's been to a Halloween party or is going to one.
No, Richie, I'd like to think this kid just goes out shopping full on Mandalorian. This is the way. But the way to success is, of course, liking, subscribing, and sharing, as you do. Gentlemen, we've got a great PlayStation show lined up this week, breaking down all of the news featuring new Naughty Dog title, rumoured in the works, job listings up there. We've got a Witcher remake finally confirmed off the back of all these CD Projekt Red news, and some sad Witcher news as well, actually, which it's not part of the show, but I'm going to add it in because it dropped yesterday. November's PlayStation Plus games to claim, Rocksteady getting rid of leadership, and much, much more. But before we do dive into it, of course, we need to discuss what we've been playing this past week. So, Rob, as this is very much your segment, because if we don't ask you, we know how worked up you get.
Yeah, I get a bit tetchy, don't I?
You do. What have you been playing this week?
Civ 6 has taken over my entire life.
Knew it would.
It's got bad. It's got really, really bad. Like kind of 3:30 in the morning finishes when I'm at work at 8 o'clock the next morning type of finish. Bad.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah, and also lots of my inner monologue is being narrated by Sean Bean now. Just into the game.
If only we could have our lives narrated by Sean Bean.
Don't worry, he'll die soon.
Yeah, the really strange thing is that like he does most of the narration, but then every now and again some random guy just pops in from the DLC because they didn't get him back to do the voiceovers for the DLC, and it's stark elite.
Stark.
Hey. Game of Thrones pun. Hooray. That's like a stark difference there between the two. But no, it's bad. Very, very bad. I must
admit, when I play a game like Civ, I usually have the volume turn pretty much off because I'll have something else going on at a time, because it's not one where like I usually find like the audio adds anything to the experience for what I want from that game. So I'll have a TV show or
full
podcast
immersion.
or...
Full immersion.
You're just a Sean Bean hater, Richie, that's why.
Exactly.
There's nothing to say there after the back of that. Just killed you dead. What have you been playing then this past week, Richie, on very low volume, it would appear?
I very recently finally rolled credits on Trails of Cold Steel, and I'm playing FIFA on Xbox as well. But what I was talking to you the other night, actually, well, because we're so close to God of War, I don't really want to sink my teeth into anything else now, knowing that I'll probably not finish it before it gets dropped. So I'm probably just going to be bouncing between chipping away at the Trails of Cold Steel Platinum and just playing FIFA for the next week or so.
Yeah, that's right. God of War, literally, at the time the show goes live, just over a week away. So, exciting things. I mean, it's getting good previews as well. The previews are starting to pop out over on those gaming websites, and the feedback has been, if you enjoyed the first one, which I think everyone who played it did, you're going to enjoy this one. So, can't wait for that. It was quite successful, that game. It was, just a little bit. It'll most likely be in our Game of the Year discussion come the end of December. I've finished Plague Tale Requiem. Done, story finished. I haven't got the platinum trophy in it yet. I've got to go back and mop up some chapters and stuff, but about, I'd say, 15 hours it was to finish. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Great game. I think a very successful follow-up to the original. Expand on the story a little bit. I've had a lot of people asking about, should I just jump into it and play it straight away? And I would always say definitely play the first one, just to give you the bigger context of the world. But it is very much its own contained story still. However, you will 100% benefit from playing the first one, Plague Tale Innocence. Gorgeous. I've took more photos, I think, in this game than any other game prior in photo mode, just because there's every kind of other chapter, you're in almost like a different location. You know, when it just looks that visually stunning, you kind of have to just go, right, I need to take this in a little bit more, pause it, get the right angle, snap, and...
It's rare that happens to me in games, but it has happened a few times. I think I did that in Uncharted 4. I think I did it in Ghost of Tsushima before.
Yeah.
There's a few games where you come across them and go, oh, that's actually just beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely stunning vistas. And it's one of those games where the facial animations are actually not far off the visuals, because I know I sometimes lament the Ubisoft games where they make gorgeous, stunning, beautiful worlds, like architecture and nature look fantastic, but then the actual character models really, really let them down in terms of their animations and such, or textures on clothes.
With Ubisoft, it tends to be outside of any protagonist, any sort of the key characters look fine, like Eivor looks fine in Valhalla. Yeah. The random villages and stuff just look kind of like potato face.
Yeah, potato face, Ubisoft potato face. Exactly, but thoroughly enjoyed it. Definitely worthwhile checking out. I've also been dabbling a little bit in Command & Conquer Remastered through the old Game Pass and EA Play partnership. And that was purely down to, I think I said it on CloudQuest this week, Richie, but that was purely down to, I saw a tweet that said, been playing Command & Conquer Remastered, and I was like, shit, I need to install that now. Like, it's just, all it took was someone to say it. And similar to Richie, I knew I was going to have that little week-long window between God of War where I don't want to dig into anything major, so why not just go back to a classic and enjoy some of that. So yeah, great time playing that, and God of War on the horizon, so looking forward to it. Great show lined up, plenty of news, as we said right at the top of it. So let's get into the thick of it. Rob, if you could introduce us to the...
Properly prepared PlayStation Proving Points, a.k.a. the news.
And for XPass, Richie, have you got ours lined up? Is it there in the doc?
Yeah, it's been there in the doc for weeks now.
I haven't read it and paid attention to it. But that's going to be a surprise. I'm sure I nailed it.
Dib's not doing that.
He's given it to me.
I have given it.
It's not happening. Good.
I kind of feel like I want to have a quick. Let me have a quick glance at it now, just while we're here. Great. Right. Okay.
It's not an easy one, I don't think.
It's fine. We'll get there. Yes.
The Dark Souls of intro.
Yeah, the Dark Souls of introductions. Thank you. News, of course, sponsored by our wonderful Helix heroes out there. Over 50 of you support us on the channel, and you can do so. Share your wealth, as they say. From as little as 99p, you can support us a little bit more, and you get early access to this very show. Usually drops on a Sunday, and early access to CloudQuest up to 6 days early, which is our topical cloud gaming show, where we go off the beaten path a little bit extra. Shout out to Tom, one of our new Helix heroes, just joined on the bronze tier. So Tom, you get access to stickers, badges, and all that aforementioned content. Tom, I don't know any other details about you. I don't think it's our Tom. It's just someone called Tom. There's no surname on his Google account, so I just know him as Tom. So Tom, if you're watching and listening, thank you for your patronage and support of the channel. We do appreciate it. And let us know your surname, so we can refer to you, or your gamer tag or something.
You might not have one. You might be like Seal, and he's just called Seal.
Or Cher, or God.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. But yeah, want to get that out. The news is, of course, brought to you by our Helix Heroes. Right, news first story. First story news of the week. Don't know why I said them backwards. We have our November PlayStation Plus games, as we are now in the month of November at the time of this show going live. It's a weird one with PlayStation Plus because I feel like we get so many announcements now about games. I really couldn't tell you what is and what isn't included in these. Which one's part of the subscription? Which one's the claimable ones? And on the same side of that, I also feel like I haven't really played a game I've claimed in absolutely months. I think Stray was maybe the last one, and I was sat in the middle of a heatwave playing Stray, so that's how long ago it was. Now we're pitch black and the clocks have gone back and everything.
Yeah, I think it's the same with me. Like, the last one I played was Stray, and before then it might have been like 6 months, even might be over a year since I played a PlayStation Plus game.
Crazy.
You can't really say something when we can't keep track of what's what, and we're closer to stuff than 99% of the population.
Yeah. I mean, I've been having a weekly moan that they don't denote which one's actually coming to cloud, even though that is one of the key benefits of one of their the PlayStation Plus tiers. Yeah. But I think it's actually further than that. They just don't have the clarity in their own blog of what's coming where. Like,
yeah, we really don't know. Like, so first game that's claimable this month is Neo 2, the critically acclaimed Neo 2 as well. We should point out. Master the lethal arts of the samurai as a mysterious half-human, half-supernatural yokai warrior. In this challenging single-player action RPG sequel, take down a host of deadly new yokai, seasoned samurai warriors, and gargantuan boss monsters in Team Ninja's stylized version of Japanese's early Sengoku period. Unsheath your deadly weapons and cut down all enemies in your path using a revamped combat system and the ability to transform into a full yokai to unleash devastating paranormal powers. PlayStation Plus players can add Neo 2 on PS4 and Neo 2 Remastered to their game library. So, yeah, to what you mentioned, Richie, it's like I don't know whether I can stream this using my premium tier sub. It says PS4 and PS5, so that by the sounds of the way that reads is Neo 2 you can claim on your PS4, and if you've got a PlayStation 5 out there, you get to claim Neo 2 Remastered. It's good that you're getting both of them. But yeah, Neo 2. This is one of those titles that I feel like it's crept up on a lot of people as the Soulsborne, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, whatever combination Sekiro game you want to play. I feel like Neo 2 is one of those that it's probably garnered more popularity off the back of the success of the rest of them. There's been this kind of groundswell of tough to beat games, like get good, and they're riding that wave with Neo 2.
I find though, I was thinking about this for a story like later in the show, but it applies to Neo as well. It's like, as soon as something starts getting referred to as Souls, like I think that's a term that just needs to disappear entirely, because it's so divisive. Because for someone like me, it's like I find the Dark Souls games not fun at all. I've just found them frustrating, and I don't play games to be frustrated. I play to enjoy myself. Immediately, I'm no longer interested in the game. It's like, but maybe I'm just like judging a game based on one basic tag that might not even be that as well applicable. So I just think Souls-like, or it just needs to, I think that tag just needs to be dropped.
You know it's not going anywhere though, don't you?
Yeah, I know it's not going anywhere, but it's like, it's one of these, it's just like, if you're not into Souls like games, as soon as you see it, you just go, nah, I'm not interested, move on. But it could be like a game that you could really get into.
Yeah,
to be fair, Richie, on this game, that's the right call, because I played the first one and it felt like I'd been mugged. Like when I started playing it, it was that kind of difficult for me. Like I just abandoned it straight away. It was worse than the tutorial in Driver on the PlayStation 1.
Wow, what a throwback.
It was that, yeah, like I felt like I'd just been like...
Just do a 180 in the car, Rob. Just do a 180 handbrake turn. And you're like, I'm pressing the buttons you're telling me to do. Oh, God, that car park, that underground car park.
Yeah, it just felt like the game developers had punched me through the screen and then took my money.
Yeah, it is a weird one with Neo, because again, graphically it looks gorgeous, storyline, like theming, it ticks kind of all those boxes for me. But even though it's described as an action RPG, the fact that I do know it's like a Souls-like has me like, I'll claim it, but I probably won't try it because of that very reason.
I almost feel like going back to the old-fashioned style of having different difficulties into your game. So if you want the absolute Souls-like experience, you could just go into the harder difficulties. Oh, if you just want to enjoy the story and the setting, you could go into the easier difficulties. I think that's fine.
But that's the allure, isn't it? That's why they're getting so popular, because it's like you have to like. I said it when I played. I said it when I played Kena Bridge of Spirits. Like the difficulty, the change in doing that for the Platinum for Master and then the easy level, there was like a stark contrast. But that game never set out to be a Souls-like game. It was just the difficulty ramped up, and you needed the Master Trophy to do that. But yeah, I would like to think Neo could be a fun hack and slash game if you weren't getting your ass handed to you on like every single like boss fight almost.
It's probably one of them 10 hours in when you're trying to you're familiar with the controls, the main mechanics. You're probably getting it down. It probably becomes really fun.
Mm-hmm.
But it's that learning curve. Like, yeah, I have tried playing things like Dark Souls, and it's like, this just sucks. Like, I'm not having a good time right now.
Yeah.
I don't want to commit more time to a game that I might enjoy once I get to a certain ability to play the game.
Yeah. There is something to be said about these Souls-like games. I know Bloodborne Remastered, Rebooted is like one of the most sought-after PlayStation games by loads of people out there. Elden Ring is definitely going to be in this year's kind of key conversations for Game of the Year. And I actually had like the temptation to pick up Elden Ring at some point this year, because as we go into our discussion at the back end of December about Game of the Year, I feel like that's such a key one that I'm missing in my like library of things I've played this year. But I was also do I want to pay money for something that I'm maybe going to start and go, oh shit, this is too tough for me, or I don't have the patience for it.
Like Elden Ring and Sekiro is like, I do want to play these games at some point, but I'm not expecting to enjoy them, so that's why I'm like kind of reluctant to go out my way. If like Elden Ring was to come to like PlayStation Plus or Xbox Game Pass, I think I'd have to jump in. Yeah,
agreed. But that's not the only game we've got. We will actually be talking about Team Ninja, who made Neo 2, of course. We've got Long Fallen Dynasty coming out next year, which we're going to talk about in just a few moments. But keep pin on that one, because we'll get into it. Second title that you get to claim as part of your PlayStation Plus this month is Lego Harry Potter Collection, which is the Lego Harry Potter years 1 till 4 and Lego Harry Potter years 5 to 7 smashed together in the collection. This compilation unites the creative powers of LEGO and the expansive world of Harry Potter with an exciting journey full of spellcasting, potion making, puzzle solving, lessons, dueling, and much, much more. Enjoy two-player fun, either local or online. Harry Potter, I've played this game, actually. I aimed to get the platinum in it a while back when I had just kind of a dull period. I thought the LEGO games are always an easy one to work your way through. You just basically collect all the studs and kind of finish every chapter, get all the mini kits, and it's nothing too strenuous. This game I put probably about 4 hours into, didn't pop one trophy, and then realised like the daunting task of years 1 through 7 of Hogwarts in Lego form. And because this is an older game, the gameplay is very dated. For like the Lego games are fun, but this felt like it is a PS3 Lego game, just remastered and upscale. Right. It felt a bit dated, considering I'd played like the game since Jurassic World, Lego, what was it? Why can't I think of the more recent one? What was the Lego game that came on more? Oh, Star Wars Skywalker Saga. Yeah. This felt very dated, and I got 4 hours in, and once I hadn't popped a trophy, I was like, right, if I stop here, I can delete it from my trophy list, and it won't have any kind of wider impact. And I did. And then here it is to claim on PlayStation Plus. Lego games do anything for you too?
Not me. No, I must be one of the only people who like just dislike the Lego games. I don't know why. I don't know, I need like a bit of stake. I think I've already got like the story from whatever franchise it is. So I never actually get much from playing the games, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they're definitely kind of like a genre unto themselves, Lego games. And I do appreciate what they're in. Like the fact that they're one of the few remaining games that do drop in, drop out co-op. Like I can't think of many other titles out there where someone could just sit next to you on the couch, pick up a controller, press start, and then they just drop into the game and they leave. Like it's very rare. Whereas in our childhood, loads of games were like that, like couch co-op, and that again lends itself to just the online world. If you are a Harry Potter fan, of course, this is huge. You just get to play through the whole stories. Chapter by chapter, year by year, in a cute little Lego form. They use a typical humour. I don't recall if this one has actual voice acting, because that was a problem the Lego games went through, like mid-2000s, was They sometimes try to use voice clips from the movies, but you could tell like the sound obviously wasn't voice recorded for VO. It was just purely a clip taken straight from them. I think the Lord of the Rings one suffered from that, where every time something happened, you could just hear all like the ambience in the background, or the war going on, or the fighting, and it sounded so detached because it wasn't fit for purpose in that moment. And they've got better. And sometimes I think Lego Skywalker did some good and some bad, where they got voice actors. Obviously, you're not going to get Mark Hamill to come back and play like Luke or something for a Lego game. So, but then they didn't use clips, so they just got voice actors in. And some voices out there absolutely nail them. Others not so much. I think the more distinct actor you've got, it's harder to get like labeled down. So, like if you're trying to replicate Ian McKellen as Gandalf, it's like you need to get that on point, don't you, to do it? Whereas just doing a posh old man's accent in English doesn't quite fly.
I kind of think if like you can't get Ian McKellen for Gandalf, you'd get someone who takes a completely different take, and it's so like make as much separation as you possibly can.
But that's not what the Lego games are.
Yeah, if you go too close, if you go too close to it, it's like it just feels a bit cheap almost. But if you go, no, this is a different guy. This is clearly a different guy, completely doing his own take on it. I think it works a bit better.
Yeah, I think they get away with some of the Harry Potter stuff because some of them don't have very distinct accents. Like especially when they're kids, they just sound like whiny kids. But like as you get to some characters like Snape, like Alan Rickman's voice is very iconic. So there's a bit of play. But again, they do a lot of almost like Mr. Bean animation in the Lego games, where a lot of the humor is more physical humor. Like they get hit on the head with I think there's like an ongoing joke in all the games where there's like a pig that's involved in like a Lego pig, and I think he's in every one of them. And they do a lot of physical comedy. But as I said, if you're a big Harry Potter fan, it's a lot of time. It's 2 games remastered, put together, and if you're looking for a family title to play with kids maybe, or you just are a diehard Harry Potter fan and you want something to play that doesn't require your full attention, stick a podcast on if you're watching another show at the same time. Just go around collecting studs and bricks. It's up there. While we are on this one, gents, any particular Lego franchise that would get you in the door? They've done pretty much everything out there, but is there something wild and off the radar that you think I would love to play, like a Lego Aliens game or Predator or something like that?
For me, it's the style of games that the Lego game. It just does. Nothing's jumped out at me. Like I am a Harry Potter fan. I am a Star Wars fan. What else have they done? They've done all sorts of franchises that Lord of the Rings that I am genuinely fans of. That I've just like gone, oh, that's nice. I'm glad they've done that because this is a good way for other people to experience these stories, but it's not a franchise. It's not an IP issue for me. It's just I look at the games and go, I'm happy to appreciate them from a distance.
Give me Lego Power Rangers. I'd play Lego Power Rangers.
That's a good shout, yeah.
I was just racking my brain trying to think of... I'm so happy Richie took that first.
Yeah, the intro.
Yeah,
like, could
you
imagine?
Happy Richie took that first, I could think.
Yeah, like the bricks coming together to form the Megazord would be pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
Maybe the Megazords, because they're so much bigger, they would be like the Duplo blocks, and then the normal characters are just like the Lego ones. Yeah, that could be great. And they'd be able to fill out, because the Lego games really go big on like the cast list. You can play. I think in Lego Star Wars, it was like 120 plus actual playable characters. Obviously, it's a lot of just reskins, but Power Rangers has how many? It's one villain every week on a new show. So
yeah, and even the Power Rangers themselves, you could do like the ninja ones, from the original Ivan Ooze movie and things like that. That might be good.
You know what? Just going wild out there, like a Lego Pokemon game. That could be an interesting crossover. Yeah. Like age-wise, I think it's very much the same demographic.
Yeah,
I don't know how that would work, but.
Yeah, there's definitely
could be something there.
Well, that's the good thing with the model is like it might not be for you guys, but it's very much copy and paste. They don't need to do much really. You're slapping an IP on it and then fit it to the world, and it does work very, very well. So yeah, Lego. I wonder what they've got next because Lego Star Wars Collection was their biggest game to date. It was one of the top sellers this summer, so it's done wonders for them, even though it was in production for quite a long time.
And the weirdest thing about a Lego Pokemon game is it's not actually that outlandish because we have a Dynasty Warriors Zelda game. We have a XCOM Mario game. Like, who would have thought they would happen?
Yeah, absolutely. Something different. So, Yeah, interesting to see that. And of course, the Harry Potter hype will no doubt continue next year when Hogwarts Legacy finally arrives. And the final game you can claim as part of your PlayStation Plus this month is Heavenly Bodies on both PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. Discover the ever-changing nuances of weightless motion in this challenging physics game, featuring a collection of stellar scenarios inspired by the feats of space explorers and researchers throughout history. Wrangle control of your cosmonaut's arms with the left and right thumbsticks to push and pull and clamber through fully physically simulated scenarios aboard a scientific research station, alone or with a friend via local co-op. So this is probably the weakest, I think, of them all. It reminds me of if you took Octodad and applied what's it, Fall Guy? Is it not Fall Guy? Sorry, what's it with Richie with the Play-Doh people that we played?
Human Fall
Flat. Yeah, that's it, Rob. Good shot. Yeah, it had Fall in it. If you took that game and just mushed it with a puzzle game, this is kind of what you got. It does look like you could have fun with it, but it's the indie title of this month's collection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's probably the most interesting one for me in terms of gameplay. But as you said, it's kind of been done before, and I'd argue probably done better from Assumption as well. Yeah, it's the indie title of the mix, so you can't really expect too much from it, right?
Yeah. It does sometimes surprise me with the PlayStation Plus collection that they don't throw more indie titles into this. Like, you get your flagship, and then you get your kind of lesser, older title, which I'd say is Harry Potter this month. And then an indie game. It is weird that they don't almost, like, flesh it out with a couple, like, pad it out with a few more indie games. I feel like 3 seems awfully skimpy, almost, in, like, what you're getting.
I'd agree with that. And I think, like, the constant murmuring of like everyone who subscribed to like the services, like there's like a gold mine of like older generation titles, kind of 1, 2, and 3 PlayStation, which just aren't getting represented, and I think that's getting worse as the months go on. I think it's fair to say.
That was, I thought, the whole point of like the revamped PlayStation Plus is you're going to get maybe your 2 or 3 games, like as you always have with PlayStation Plus. But with higher tiers, you're going to get this back catalogue of stuff. And then with even higher, you're going to get your cloud gaming in there as well.
But it just doesn't seem to be happening.
These stuff coming month on month. But again, as we mentioned earlier, they don't really explain what's coming and when very well, and where it's coming, what tiers. And it seems to just be lacking that clarity month on month.
Yeah, they just kind of just drip feed stuff, but you don't know when and what it is. But it goes back to that problem that we used to talk about on Stadia all the time, Richie, that the library, it will hit a saturation point where they give us so many games on the subscription model with premium and extra that the claimable ones, similar to how games with gold's actually happening with Xbox, where it's like over time it becomes a weaker proposition because you start running out of games to put on it that of any note or merit. And the reality is, a lot of the game developers, they might not want their game going on PlayStation Plus. Like, Sony have to go to Team Ninja and say, hey, can we have Neo 2 for next November, please? And can it stay on the service for that whole month as claimable, keep forever? There's every understanding to think that the developers turn around and go, actually, you know what, we'd rather just keep our game purchasable a la carte on the store. We don't want it on that model.
Yeah.
And then go back and forth.
Sequels and stuff as well. Because obviously, like, they'll get a bump from the old titles, and if they've already been claimed by a bunch of people,
like millions of people,
claimed but actually haven't played it, there's not much value in that.
Yeah, so really. Say like when Neo 3 is inevitably on the horizon, and then you would think that would see a swell in people playing Neo 2. And great if they've already claimed it, but as a developer, you think, like, was the money we got from Sony worth the lack of sales we're now not getting on the back of it? It's an interesting cycle of kind of business that goes around that we'll probably never really see behind the scenes. And I'm sure on XPass, Richie will talk about the mechanics of Game Pass quite in depth over the next couple of months of how that works and its value and what that brings and the way the industry is evolving with these different models and different trials. But those are, in fact, your PlayStation Plus games to claim for this month, and no doubt we'll be back in 2 weeks' time with another list of games that are going on to the subscription model. Premium tiers ready to claim and play. Moving things on, though, a little bit of Naughty Dog news this week, Uncharted and The Last of Us developer Naughty Dog is working with a number of PlayStation Studio teams to develop a mysterious new project in, and I quote from the job listing, a beloved franchise. That's according to the new job listing, seeking a game design intern to work on a new PlayStation studio based in San Diego, co-developing an exciting new project with Naughty Dog in a beloved franchise. There is no additional information at the moment. However, it does seem like the same San Diego team that Sony... Bear in mind, Sony have never officially announced the studio. There was rumours about 2 or so years ago they were creating a new internal team to look after the Uncharted franchise, and then it was rumoured to be handed over to Sony Bend, who of course made Uncharted Golden Abyss on the PlayStation Vita. Fantastic game. And then they moved on to do Days Gone, which we know Days Gone isn't getting a sequel. They were pulled off the project, similar to that team was working on, the San Diego team was working on The Last of Us Part 1 remake, until Naughty Dog took that back in-house fully as well. So it seems like, without Sony officially announcing it, there is a team in San Diego that's been built from the ground up to incubate a beloved franchise. My money is on Naughty Dog. Sorry, not Naughty Dog, Uncharted. However, it's been like 5 years now since Uncharted Lost Legacy, so half a decade. Richie, do you think we're due some new Uncharted soon, and do you think this is the game?
I think it is Uncharted because of Naughty Dog is clearly heavily involved, and Naughty Dog are one of them developers. They feel like they are done with Uncharted for the most part, and they like the one that they're moving on to The Last of Us as the main thing, and they seem to be like a studio who wants to keep trying new stuff, coming up with new IP, which is like why I think things like Crash and stuff, they were quite happy to just move beyond that. But this is like the IP that kind of cemented their status as one of the biggest developers in the world. Mm-hmm. So they're probably done. It's probably that like we don't want to just be entirely hands off on this. But 5 years since last Uncharted feels about right. And again, I think a bigger gap is probably good because I think Nathan Drake's story is done. Mm-hmm. I don't think he will be the protagonist of the next Uncharted game. Yeah. I think he'll cameo. But, so, giving a bit more of a gap between the end of Uncharted 4, especially, and less so Lost Legacy, because Lost Legacy isn't about Nathan, but I think it's a good thing. So maybe if, like, they announce a new game within the next 6 months, and then it's coming out in another year or two after that, that might be the right time to relaunch the Uncharted franchise with a new protagonist.
Yeah, start off again. I'm completely with you on that one. I don't think it doesn't need Nathan Drake. I think Uncharted can be a franchise unto itself. I think the reality is the gameplay is just so damn fun. Like, just give me a new host of people, send me on an adventure like Indiana Jones, and just let me have fun with it, because that is the big part of why I enjoy Uncharted. It's just broken down into these gorgeous, stunning kind of set pieces, like a summer action movie. Like, let's face it, no summer action movies are out there winning like Golden Globes and BAFTAs and stuff, but doesn't mean they're not fun. And that's what I love about Uncharted.
What I would do is a character introduced in the epilogue of Uncharted 4. That's who I think I would center the franchise around going forward. Because then that's a perfect person to pull in some of the cast that you already know and love, even like Nathan, if it is in a cameo role, or as a supporting character rather than the player's character.
Exactly. Obviously, Naughty Dog hopefully working on something new. I'd love to see them, like they did wonders with The Last of Us. I do think they probably have The Last of Us 3 to kind of mop up. I feel like that rounding out that trilogy is going to be like their next big thing. So they've got factions.
Finish off Ellie's story.
Yeah, like just get the whole like that world kind of boxed off, and then factions, their multiplayer game, which should come sometime next year because they've been working on that for quite some time. But beyond that, I would love to see it. But I think you're right. I think Naughty Dog have outgrown Uncharted, similar to how they did Crash Bandicoot and Jak and Daxter and stuff. And it's time to move on, but it's clearly too rich of an IP for Sony to just leave on the cutting room floor. We've got the movie franchise with Tom Holland. That movie did really, really well. There's no doubt going to be a sequel for that. So they want that synergy back and forth. We've seen it with the HBO show. We're no doubt going to see it with the Horizon shows. Like, companies now are looking for that back and forth that we saw with The Witcher and Netflix. Rob, anything in particular you think the studio could be working on outside away from Uncharted?
No, I can't see anything else where it leads like elsewhere from Uncharted. Really, I kind of echo your guys' thoughts where Naughty Dog do best when they're innovating a genre, and they did it kind of really well with like Uncharted in the action scope. I'd argue that Uncharted's one of those games that's probably elevated overall games more than any other. Like you have like the slide mechanic from Uncharted 4 in most games now, kind of like Fallen Order and things like that. So it's definitely time for them to move on.
Games for me, there's a specific cadence where you go from action to story to exploration to puzzle solving, and they just get to massive set pieces, and like it's one of them. I think the Uncharted, the original trilogy, kind of set up games in a way that games can have this kind of cinematic feel to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Like that.
But I think Naughty Dog's elevated, and then another studio can take that franchise and maybe not kind of like. I wouldn't expect the same kind of innovation I'd expect from Naughty Dog doing Uncharted 5, for example, if that's what it was.
But I'm happy 5, not a completely new thing.
Yeah, but I'm happy with like the standard Uncharted's at, and I think another studio could kind of push more stories out.
Yeah, like take the framework and just do your own thing with it. Yeah, because as I said, Uncharted Golden Abyss was fantastic, and it wasn't made by Naughty Dog, so that there are things you can do with that. For me, I also feel like with in The Last of Us and the rumours around Horizon, I also do think we're probably due a remake of the first one. Like the first Uncharted came out in 2007, so that game is getting on a bit, and its age does show when you go back. And even playing the collection, that Blue Point remastered, if they're going to do Horizon, which is only 5-year-old, I think Uncharted does. And actually, there's a story later on in the show regarding the Lost Legacy PC release. And I actually think not having the collection on PC is a big part of why that one struggled, but we'll get into that one in a little while. So, new job listings, which unfortunately usually points to the sign that it's still some time away yet, many years to come. But maybe we'll get a tease. Maybe they are working on a collection, like whenever Sony finally do the showcase before the end of the year, that keeps circulating as a rumour. Which I don't know if you guys have seen that, but do you know all the stuff with Call of Duty and Activision and Xbox going back and forth, and the CMA involved and such? Apparently, the rumour now is Sony did have a showcase ready to go, and it got cancelled or pushed back because they don't want to basically add fuel to the Xbox conversation. You're mid being scrutinised by these governing bodies, and then you go and do a big showcase talking about all your exclusives. Final Fantasy's exclusive, and we've got all these new ones. It just kind of adds fuel to the fire.
It's a bad look.
Exactly. So the rumours now are that's why Silent Hill had its own announcement last week. That's going to be exclusive for a year. Okay. It wasn't at a showcase, so almost release it under the radar by letting Konami do their own thing. Final Fantasy dropped a new trailer for 16 last week. We talked about it on the show. That could have been part of a showcase. That's exclusive to PlayStation, and it's like,
This could be great for Game Awards.
Yeah,
Game Awards is not that far away at this point. It's like it's a month away, and if you're going to get a showcase in, it kind of needs to be November.
Yeah.
If things aren't going to be settled to the point where you can do a showcase in November, Jeff Keighley's just going to be sat there rubbing his fingers, going, "Ha ha ha! Give them to me.
Give it to me." Because I do think it's interesting to think like we got all that news last week, and all these companies just did it themselves. Like Resident Evil 4, like that would have all been part of a showcase, and yet these companies randomly just went, "Oh yeah, there's a trailer dropping on Thursday on our YouTube channel," and it was like, "All right, Konami, you've done nothing in years, and now you're suddenly going to drop all this Silent Hill news." I feel like that would have formed part of a PlayStation showcase. So interesting stuff. Speaking of remakes, though, guys, we discussed all of the CD Projekt Red announcements just a few weeks ago. We know we're getting a new Witcher trilogy. We finally know a little bit more details around what one of those titles was. So if you remember, we broke down a few of their project names, and one of them was Canis Majoris, was being handled by a third party outside of CD Projekt Red. Well, we now know it's in fact a full remake of the original Witcher title. So the game is being developed in Unreal Engine 5 using the same toolset as the new Witcher trilogy that's being developed in-house. It'll most likely be released on PC and next-gen only, with it being a full-on remake. The first Witcher game was released for PC back in 2007, published by Atari, funnily enough, of all people, followed by an enhanced edition in 2008. And reading from CD Projekt Red, The Witcher is where it all started for us. This was the first game we made ever, and it was a big moment for us then. Going back to this place and updating the game for the next generation of gamers to experience it is just as big, if not bigger, said Adam Badowski, the head studio owner of CD Projekt Red. Collaborating with Fool's Theory, these are the developers on the remake, is just as exciting. Some people have previously been involved in other Witcher games. They know the source material well. They know how much gamers have been looking forward to seeing a remake happen. And they're incredibly ambitious, and time will tell if it's worth the wait. So, Canis Majoris is in fact the Witcher, I was going to say 3 again, remake, in Unreal Engine 5. Richie, happy with this?
Yeah. Very happy. The Witcher 1 it's a great game, but I played it on PC, and it has a very unique control system. It's kind of a bit weird, a bit obtuse. So I think a remake in Unreal 5 to retell that story, I think it's perfect as well with how big The Witcher as a franchise has become. There'd be a lot of people who haven't played this game. I think of the 3 of us, I'm probably the only one who has.
Yeah, I haven't. Again,
I did try to, but it was just a bit too dated because I played it after Witcher 3, and that was the issue with me.
The story stands up. The gameplay, I don't think does. I'm not even talking graphics. I think the way you interact with the game is just not that intuitive. It's not that. So it's like, I'm very excited for this. I think this is going to be fantastic.
We have been critical of remakes, right? But I think this is right. This is the right thing to do.
Interesting enough, 2007, same as that first Uncharted game we were just talking about as well. So it is that kind of games I think are on the cusp of that age. It's acceptable, but as you were saying there, Richie, like Witcher 3 is the only Witcher game I was ever even conscious of. Like, even though I'm so clued in the games industry, I'd only ever heard of The Witcher 3 when it suddenly went to the Game of the Year fame back in, 2012, 13, whenever it was. Does The Witcher original still play? Is it just like an open world RPG? The same?
It's more linear, and again, I played on PC. Like, I'd have to go back. It's been a long time since I've played, because I played around about the time of release. These RPG elements. There is definitely elements that you'll be familiar with if you're familiar with The Witcher 3, but they are different games. I think, as this said, this was CG Projekt Red's first game, and they've come a long way. The Witcher 2 moved the franchise on leaps and bounds, and The Witcher 3 did that again. So if you put this alongside The Witcher 3 and look, you've got, and didn't tell people these were Witcher games, you just took Geralt out of them, just had a nondescript protagonist,
like Liam Hemsworth.
These are very. You might not be able to link these, but yeah, I think this is one of them games where I think it being remade is going to only be good for the franchise.
Interesting. If this does well, which it no doubt will, because it's The Witcher. Do you imagine Fool's Theory are going to then just next immediately move on to The Witcher 2 remake? That seems like by the time this is out, you're probably talking 3 to 4 years. Then Witcher 2 will be inevitably another 3 or 4 years old. So it seems like it's ready to print money for the next decade for this team and CD Projekt Red.
Possibly, but The Witcher 2 was, I think, more beloved and more critically acclaimed than Witcher 1. Maybe that's due for a remaster treatment rather than a remake treatment. I haven't played as much of Witcher 2 as Witcher 1 or 3. So I don't know. I'd have to speak to someone who's played a lot of that game to kind of go, do you think this game holds up?
Because it's definitely an interesting one to think the time these will take to put out, and then inevitably a second one, we'll probably be talking about a whole another generation of consoles by then. By the time we would get to a Witcher 2 remake remaster scenario. But more Witcher news, and I did drop the joke in there, but I guess we've kind of got to address it, is while we're here, Witcher, Henry Cavill announced just literally last night before recording that he's no longer going to be playing Geralt in season 4 of the Netflix show, and Liam Hemsworth is going to be taking over. My quick take on that, as soon as I read that, I was like, I'm out. I'm done. It's just weird. It was one of those moments, as soon as I read the Instagram post saying he's going to hand over the reins for whatever reason, my brain just went, I'm immediately just not interested in this Netflix show, just like that, for some reason. How about you two?
Yeah. I mean, I think the Netflix show isn't as kind of strong as like the game franchise. Definitely,
undoubtedly
I think it's a lot more divisive. And honestly, I think Henry Cavill carried a lot of that show on his impossibly broad shoulders. But like, I just think it's definitely a hell of a lot weaker. And to be honest, I haven't seen Liam Hemsworth in much of anything memorable.
Hunger Games, I think, is the only thing I've seen him in. And even then, he's not a big part of that in my mind.
That's the thing. I know him as Chris Hemsworth, like brother, and not necessarily his own kind of entity.
Yeah.
So I'll keep an open mind. I'll probably watch it just because I want something brain dead to watch, but I'm certainly not interested in it the same way I was kind of 24 hours ago, should I say.
Yeah, when I read it, I kind of just thought, like, I'd rather you just killed Geralt off and continued with, like, Triss.
Just a new Witcher, yeah.
Or a new Witcher, yeah. Or just follow Ciri's story or something. Like, they just... Yeah, it was weird.
The problem with that is the Witcher 1 is actually set after where the shows got up to. I know they're not literally the same, like the shows following the books more than the games ever did. But we haven't got to that point where like the Witcher 1 starts. So I think season 3 is going to be make or break for me, whether I'm interested in it going forward. Because season 3 hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, true.
But if season 3 kind of ends off at the point where like the games take over, then I might just be out. I might just go, you know what?
We had a good
3
run.
seasons, I've done what I need to do. It's basically been the prequel to the games.
Absolutely.
But I'll see.
Do we suspect this is Warner Brothers tying Henry Cavill down to more Superman projects?
It must be,
and the
right?
need is commitment for like whatever the future, because DC, what it was, is James Gunn's like taken over as like co-CEO of the whole DC, and they've got rid of the guy who's been in charge for the last shitty 10 years of their movies.
I think at the moment DC have this like golden opportunity when like there's like a bit of weakness in the MCU at the moment, and I think if there's ever going to be a time when DC can kind of like take over like that mantle, it's now with James Gunn, and get Henry Cavill locked in, his calendars, keep it open to be as many as he can be, and it must be DC kind of pulling strings.
Might be how The Witcher is filmed itself, because that can't be pleasant to film. Like, it's very gritty. It looks very fucking cold and rainy. He's like, at some point, if you're an actor, your passion for the project kind of must decay after several years of doing it, and you're like, do I even want to do this? Do I want to go through that process again? Spend months out in the cold and the rain and the mud, when I could just be Superman with a fake mustache.
and a green screen. Yeah, it's interesting. I think that's what sucks about this extra, is that like Henry Cavill was like, he's such a big nerd when it comes to The Witcher and understanding. And I love it on like television interviews when he's clearly being interviewed by a host who thinks gaming is just still a thing nerds do in their parents' basement, and then he corrects them on it, or he says no. And he just like, he goes to town on them and shows like how much of a nerd he is, and the fact that
King of the nerds.
Yeah, and the fact that he's out is almost like, dude, like this role was made for you. Like you made the show so much about what it was, and like elevated the franchise.
Well.
Yeah, exactly. So the fact that he's
he's out, then what does it say to
the direction or
like, what's mine supposed to do, type of thing.
Exactly, but time will tell on that one, just like the Witcher games and the continuation of the series. We are still yet to hear about this next-gen Witcher. We're now in November, boys. The next-gen Witcher 3 remake, the kind of next-gen patch update, I guess it's called, is due out this year, and CD Projekt Red have still said it's coming this year. They've got 2 months to market it before December 31st.
The silence is deafening at the moment.
Do we think this would have been at a PlayStation showcase, maybe?
I don't know.
It's just weird.
I don't know if they care too much about marketing this game, because it is just a remaster of a game that's already out there. The game's not exactly bad to play now, so I think their expectation we're just going to bring this out. People have got The Witcher. It'll kind of probably have its own natural marketing beat, because everyone knows it's coming. So
do they though? Like, if you said, like, if you ask people who are like a casual gamers who picked up The Witcher because of the hype it got initially, like, I'd bet not many people know it's coming as a remaster or whatever we're calling it.
Yeah,
like, it's a hard one.
I don't think it needs like months of marketing to get this over the line, because with The Witcher 3, how well critically acclaimed it is, if they just do like a hard 3-4 weeks of pushing it, that might be all it needs. And again, if you own The Witcher, like I do, I'm getting that upgrade for free anyway.
Yeah. If
So
I'm
there
seeing
might
posters for
be-
Gotham Knights everywhere, like just put up a Witcher one, please. Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would, but maybe they don't want. It's again CG Project Red bent on Cyberpunk a bit. Maybe they don't want to commit to a date till they're absolutely sure.
Okay, so he's a little thread of news that I think probably gives us a good idea. The Witcher Netflix spin-off series, The Witcher Blood Origin, drops on Netflix this December 25th, Christmas Day. I think they're going to go for that synergy again. So, new Netflix series, if they can get this out like middle of December to the back end, I think they're going to see that like boon again of like, oh, The Witcher 3 on next gen version is out this month and there's a new show out, and then you're going to see that spike once again.
Could be a Game Awards announcement then.
Could be, yeah. Is it like 9th of December, I think, is Game Awards? I think
You have a dual announcement because we know Jeff Keighley likes that synergy stuff.
he does. So, yeah, interesting.
You have a trailer of the for the Netflix show, and then you have you also attack on. Oh, by the way, the long announced upgrade to The Witcher will be coming out on the 25th as well.
Yeah, go do it.
That double punch.
Yep, I like it. I like the thought process. Moving on, though, away from some Witcher news, let's get back to what we mentioned earlier on about Team Ninja and their next Dark Souls fantasy title set in the Three Kingdoms era of China. That's right, Long Fallen Dynasty is going to get a worldwide release date in the chock jam-packed, filled early start to next year. March 3rd. We've said earlier on about Souls-like games and what they do to us. Rob, I know you're a big Dynasty Stories fan, and the era of the Three Kingdoms is such a fantastic story that we've spent hours of our lives in. There was a demo release of this game last month, giving players a taste of what's to come. But here we are, March the 3rd. What's this game sitting on your radar now then, Rob? Three Kingdoms, but it's a Dark Souls game.
This is the issue. I feel like I've been conditioned since I was about 10-year-old to just like enter the Three Kingdoms era and just slaughter enemies with
Hack
no
and
effort
slash.
whatsoever. Yeah, so like going into like a Dark Souls game where like, oh holy shit, this person can actually fight back and has a chance against me. It doesn't particularly sit well with me at the moment.
It's not that mass slaughter. You have to be precise.
Yeah, and I feel like it could suffer just from the how crowded it's going to be like during like that release time. I think that's what's going to be.
Does look good though.
That could be bad for it. It looks good, yeah, but again, it's not my type of gameplay.
Yeah, I'm guessing this is the kind of Team Ninja stopgap between the Neo games. So they did Neo 2, they've moved on to this in partnership with Koei Tecmo, and then they're probably going to bounce back, I'd imagine, and do Neo 3 after this one. But what's surprising me is with these Souls-like games, they seem to be able to just launch new franchises so easily. Like Long Fallen Dynasty's got so much hype, just like Elden Ring got so much hype, just like Sekiro got so much hype. And it's like, what is it with these? Like, these are all brand new IP that seem to garner so much love and adoration without even trying, it would seem.
It's the current meta in single player games where like single player, like anything, these go through kind of cycles where, like in the multiplayer space, it's still about the battle royales. Like this, I think Dark Souls like is the kind of main focus of single player games. Where before you probably had your Ubisoft style open world games. Now that's dying off a bit. There's still games coming out, like Horizon kind of fits that category, but the Souls like games like Elden Ring is probably the biggest example in recent years of like how we're kind of riding that wave of it. So I think that's why you're getting so many of them.
Yeah, they seem to be able to produce them in quite a quick turnaround time. I've just remembered as well, the Team Ninja are also doing next year's Rise of the Ronin PS5 exclusive. You know, the one that we loved at the Summer Games Fest? Which showcase was it that we watched? It was like the one set in 1800s Civil War Japan that looked like Ghost of Tsushima meets that, and it was like we were all blown away by how like gorgeous it looked. That's Team Ninja as well. So these guys are putting out some visual treats right now for us. I just hope that one's. It did say for Rise of Ronin it was a new combat action and unrestrained open gameplay. So I'm hoping that's a bit more hack and slashy than it is Dark Souls. Yeah. But we're being looked after on this on the PlayStation train this year.
I do feel like it might be a saturation point getting hit with like these types of titles. Like there's a lot coming out in the same kind of vibe at the moment.
Absolutely. Well, thankfully we'll be able to pivot away, Rob, and play Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League next year. However, it won't be with Rocksteady's leadership team. So as of this week, Rocksteady put out a statement blog, and I'll read straight from it. I have some important news to share with you about Rocksteady Studios. Co-founders and studio heads Sefton Hill and Jamie Walker have made this decision to leave the studio. We're very proud of having worked alongside Jamie and Sefton, who've led their talented teams to create some of the best games in the world. From the critically acclaimed hit Batman Arkham franchise to their evolutionary thinking with Suicide Squad. They've been great leaders of the team, and it basically goes on to thank them for their work and etc. Leadership is going to be taken up by people within Rocksteady. So there's people basically being promoted through the ranks. And then they quote directly from themselves from Jamie and Sefton saying, "Our decision to leave Rocksteady was emotional to say the least. From the day we founded our company in 2004 all the way to today, Rocksteady has been our life and soul. It's given us the opportunity to do what we love the most, make great games with exceptionally talented people. We're so proud of the team here for the games we've made together, from Urban Chaos, Arkham series, etc., Suicide Squad." In a nutshell, though, Rocksteady have lost their leadership, and I can't help but feel like there's a deeper story somewhere in this, and that the biggest thing that triggers that for me is that Suicide Squad isn't out yet. Why would you leave before the game's out, where no doubt you are contractually obliged to get bonuses and payout based on the success of this game? So for you to leave the company mere months before this game that's been in development for years almost suggests to me that you're potentially risking throwing millions of dollars worth of a bonus away by leaving now rather than just hang out until next summer, which makes me worried for the game.
Strange.
Yeah,
it's just a weird one. I can't get my head around the timing of it at all.
I can't shake this feeling that there's big issues with WB in their gaming division. Like, what was it? It wasn't not Suicide Squad. The other one, Gotham Knights, has kind of flopped out the gate.
Yep.
Like, there's stuff like that happened. Like Rocksteady being when was the last time Rocksteady dropped a game?
It was Arkham Knight. So like 2015.
Yeah, so it's like it's taken a long time to get anything done at the moment with WB games, and then they're not to the standard. Like the biggest criticism I saw of Gotham Knights was kind of it just feels like a last gen game. And that it feels like, we've spent 10 years working on a game that it's just should have come out like 5 years ago. That kind of feels like there seems to be bigger issues overall with WB. And the timing of their leaving, not long after, it almost feels like they've looked at Gotham Knights and went, that's where this game's going to go. Let's just move on.
Yeah, it doesn't add to like good optics at all. I mean, we should point out Rocksteady and Warner Brothers Montreal, who made Gotham Knights, they are different studios, but they work in such close synergy because they're both working on the Arkham universe. Even though Gotham Knights is its own separate pocket universe where Batman's dead, but he's not in this universe with Suicide Squad, and that was one of the first mistakes by splitting these up.
Oh god, yeah.
But then, I said on last week's show when we broke down the reviews for Gotham Knights is that Suicide Squad for me gives me the exact same vibes. Whereas like I have no real interest in who the Suicide Squad are. I would rather play as Flash, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Arrow. Instead, I'm left playing as King Shark and Captain Boomerang in a multiplayer online game. It's like I just don't give a shit.
I've ranted about Suicide Squad before, but it feels like one of them, like the WB and DC are determined for Suicide Squad to be a thing that's relevant, but they don't do the groundwork to set it up. They just go straight for it. And it's like, but outside of like Harley Quinn, who was pretty much just carried by being Margot Robbie, and Deadshot being carried by Will Smith, who gives a fuck? Like, you need to set these characters up before you put them together. Like,
plus they're bad guys. Like, it's the world seems to want us to like these like anti-villains, and it's like, can't they just be villains? Like, when did villains stop being bad people? They have to have this like moral compass where they're like, they're only bad for a reason. It's like, no, just let them be assholes and kill people and capture people and hold them hostage and try and destroy parts of cities because they're bad guys. That's the whole point. But I think WB, Warner Brothers, we know what they're doing. I think leadership here are reading the tea leaves and they're like, look, they're going to either shut us down soon or they're going to sell us off. We can just take our assets now. And I would not be surprised if these two studio heads go and start up a brand new company, independent, and do their own thing.
Yeah,
that's what I'm expecting to happen.
Yeah, and it's great for us as consumers because we'll see more great games come off the back of it many years down the line. But I do think a combination of 9 years to get Gotham Knights out, embarrassing, and it's flopped. 5, 6, 7, 8 years to potentially get Suicide Squad out. And I think in that time, that collective time period, we could have just had 2 good Batman games. Like, that's the annoying thing. Yeah.
Here's my prediction. 6 months' time from now, we'll be sat here talking about how the former heads of Rocksteady and founders of Rocksteady set up a new gaming studio. A couple of months on from there, PlayStation Studios acquires this new studio.
Working on an exclusive Batman game.
Yeah.
Something like that.
It doesn't talk about too loudly.
Exactly, yeah, it's not at any showcases. But either way, interesting stuff. Right, let's move on to a few smaller stories as we round out this week's show, gentlemen. Callisto Protocol, imminent release, 2nd of December, the spiritual successor to Dead Space. And interesting enough, after what we just spoke about, the studio is formed of Dead Space employees who left EA and went and created their own studio, and then now they're making a Dead Space game. So much so. However, the game is not getting a release in Japan. Apparently, the ratings board, due to the game's violent conduct, means it's unable to secure its age rating from the Japanese equivalent of the PEGI ESRB ratings. And the developers said, well, we're not changing the game. We have a vision for the game. This is what it is. And it's just straight up not getting released in Japan now. So if you've pre-ordered the game, you're going to get a refund. But that's it. No Callisto Protocol for Japanese gamers out there. It sucks if you live in Japan, if you wanted to play this game, that you've just got no way. I'm sure you get copies through some means.
It's a weird thing, isn't it, really? Because, like, obviously how globalized everything is, like, around the world now. Like, nobody who wants to consume this content is going to be blocked from consuming the content, because they'll watch it on, like, YouTube videos, playthroughs and streams and stuff. Like,
they'll get an import or something.
Yeah, like, it's not getting kind of, you're not preventing anybody who's the tiniest bit motivated from consuming it. So it just seems like a throwback to the 90s.
This game is going to probably have full Japanese voice acting anyway, so you just import it. Region locking on consoles, I don't think is much of a thing anymore, so you could just buy it from elsewhere, get it imported and play. Yeah.
I'm very curious to know what exactly it is that's tipping it over the edge to not get the rating.
Yeah, to get banned in Japan, like, that's a...
It's weird because different cultures have different, like, put stress on different things. Like, America is, like, very, very particular about swearing and things like Japan's kind of like schoolgirls is just, they're fine to be sexualized. It's like, it's kind of weird, different. It's different priorities. So I'm guessing this game is going to be incredibly violent, probably incredibly graphically violent. And that's the sort of stuff where, like, in the West, we're just like, yeah, that's fine, let's go for it. But I'm guessing Japan's just a bit hung up on.
Yeah, either way, no doubt we have just over a month to wait to see how violent this game really is and how spooky and scary it is. So either way. Next up, Midnight Suns also has an imminent release. This feels like one of the games that I think is going to fall under the radar this Christmas period. It's kind of been delayed twice over already now, and even though it's got the Marvel tag attached to it, I feel like interest has waned a lot over the last 6 or 7 months, to a point where I don't know, other than the Marvel name, I don't know if it's going to pull that much weight anymore. They have announced plans for DLC, so starting early 2023, Marvel-themed strategy game Midnight Suns will be adding likes of Venom, Morbius and Storm as paid DLC in their first release pack. If you're unfamiliar with Midnight Suns already, the actual comic book series ran through the mid-90s and delivered interesting kind of, I'd say, combinations of superheroes that you wouldn't have previously seen together. So we had, like, the Avengers and Defenders, and I think the Midnight Suns was just a random group of heroes that never really hung out. And the 2K game is going to focus on that. I think you've got, like, Wolverine hanging out with Iron Man and Ghost Rider, which is, like, such an odd combination that I would never expect to see in this 4K inspired game. Gameplay doesn't really do it for me. I'm not really all about the 4K. Is it 4K world? Is that what they're called? I'm saying
like that. XCOM style.
Is it 4K though? Now I've said 4K so many times, I'm thinking that's TV.
No,
XK, 4K.
You might be thinking 4X, which is like 4X strategy game.
That's what I'm thinking of. 4X, yeah, not 4K.
Yeah,
that's
not
one.
this.
Yeah,
that's not that.
That's more like Civilization.
Yeah. It's because in the description I think I said X-Men and 4K in the either way. The reason why I wanted to bring this up is, like, what do you guys feel about bringing out or announcing DLC before the game's even launched? I feel that's a bit weird. To, like, oh, here's the game you're going to pay for, but we're going to already ask you and tell you that you're going to be paying more for these particular characters, like big characters as well, like Deadpool, Venom, not so much Morbius, but They come and you have to pay for it. Yeah, Storm as well. But like, could you not just add them in the game now, and we'll have them?
It kind of feels like there's not much interest in the game, so they're like, oh, look at these guys. These guys are going to be in the game, and you're interested in those because Ryan Reynolds and like Hugh Jackman just did a trailer and stuff like that. It stinks that a bit, I think.
Yeah, pulling on different threads to kind of pique interest a bit more. Interesting.
But again, I love this type of gameplay, but I'm just not interested in this game anymore. Like, I don't know. It's been around for too long.
Delays, I think, do it. Yeah. You kind of just get a bit fed up. You're like, oh, is it out yet? No. Is it out yet? No. And it's like, I'm done. It's like me and Mafia, Richie. Just like, I hate the franchise now. just because it got delayed so long. I'm just like, I'm just done with it.
At the moment, I'm quite skeptical of any Marvel games because we've had a few games where it feels like they've just slapped the IP on and just like expected it to just sell. Like, I think of like Avengers, where it's a kind of a mediocre game that was only got as much interest because of the IP. So with a game like this, I have a passing interest, but it's very much, I want to see reviews. This game has to absolutely come out swinging for me in terms of this should be a good XCOM style game before you put the Marvel stuff on top of it for me. But even then, I'm not that interested in XCOM style games. So I think there is a Venn diagram for this game. But I think you've got, if you Marvel and you're Firaxis, you kind of got to keep your expectations set correctly on this one.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot of kids who pick this up over Christmas thinking it's a superhero game, and then when they get into the strategy game, really like, this isn't what I was expecting from Wolverine and Ghost Rider and stuff.
If you're Firaxis, you should look at this game as a potential gateway drug for like your other stuff. Like, because it's got that Marvel IP, it could bring people and go, oh, I actually really enjoyed this game. Enjoyed the way it played. What else is in that genre that I could play?
Definitely. Speaking of slapping Marvel franchise, I will say, shout out to Marvel Snap on mobile phones. I'm having a great time playing that right now.
I'm sick of hearing about it already.
Richie, Marvel Snap, check it out, download it. It was one of those things, there's not really much to the game, and I'm not really big on digital card game things, but...
It's the YouTube ads,
Marvel Snap.
It's every single YouTube advert is Marvel Snap.
If we say Marvel Snap that many times in this podcast, I'd be very curious to see if the algorithm... No, they're not, but I would be curious.
I was going to ask, Chris, are we splitting this money 3 ways?
Yeah, Marvel Snap. Not just 2 ways. Richie doesn't want it, so... Are you playing Marvel Snap, Rob?
No, but I have heard there's a discount code where you can get 250 free gems.
Gems? I don't even know if gems are a part of it.
If you just
use the link. It's the advert where I keep hearing some guy going, we've got rid of all the things that will make a game fun. It's like, well, yeah, it's a game. But I don't know. I just have no interest in Marvel Snap at all.
It is fun, I will say. There's something satisfying about upgrading your cards.
Is it fun or is it addictive?
Both.
But go to marvelsnap.com/Helix Cloud.
Don't do that. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. If you're watching this on YouTube and an ad for Marvel Snap pops up during this segment, do let us know in the comments below, because that would be perfect Google overlord algorithm stuff.
Technically, we would get paid for that. So.
Via the smallest penny amounts we would. Yeah. But either way, we digress. Marvel Snap, check it out. As Rob said, marvelsnap.com/Helix Cloud Games. The other things on PC aside from that website, Uncharted Legacy of Thieves launched this past week, and it's been, unfortunately, Sony's most disappointing PlayStation PC launch to date. Of course, we've had Horizon Zero Dawn, Days Gone, God of War, Spider-Man Remastered, soon to be Miles Morales and Sackboy's Big Adventure, Uncharted Sea of Thieves. What am I talking about? Uncharted Legacy of Thieves, Sea of Thieves, marvelsnap.com. Features both Uncharted 4 and the Lost Legacy collection, and all of their up-res version for PC, highest frame rate, all that jazz. 10,781 players at its all-time peak during its launch. Scaled in comparison to Spider-Man 66,000, God of War 73,000, and interesting enough, even Days Gone 27,500. And I mentioned it a little bit earlier in the show. I think this PC release has just had no marketing. It was announced back in, I think, February alongside the PS5 launch, which got a bit of marketing for PS5, and they're like, oh, the PC version will come later. Here it is later, and I don't think Sony have done anything to promote this at all.
Well, I think part of it as well is, I'm going back to my days as a PC gamer here, where I was basically not involved in the PlayStation ecosystem at all. I'd heard of Uncharted, but not in the same way I'd expect if I was that person now, how I'd head of like Horizon or God of War, Spider-Man. I just don't think Uncharted, as much as beloved as them games are within the Sony ecosystem, permeate beyond it too much.
That's a good point. Yeah, Spider-Man's a lot more marketable. But then again, Days Gone more than double.
Days Gone's the only one that kind of puts a bit of a question mark on my theory. But there again, that is also a newer game than the Uncharted.
Yeah, the fact that, I think the biggest thing for me is the fact that it's number 4. So if you're on PC and you've not played this on PlayStation, why, like, having that 4 in the end, I think does dissuade a lot of people. I wouldn't want to jump into a franchise I've never played before at the 4th entry.
No, I literally, when I got my PS4, I jumped into Uncharted, the Uncharted Legacy.
The collection.
Uncharted collection. Wasn't the Legacy of Thieves collection, it's the first.
The Sea of Thieves collection.
Yeah. I went 1, 2, 3, then actually Last of Us, then 4.
Yeah.
And I think that was a great way to
what a year you had that year, Richie.
Yeah, that was good.
Just every other week you were like, I'm up to Uncharted 2 now. Now I'm doing this. Now I'm doing Last of Us. I was like, fuck.
I had basically like probably about 18 months, 2 years of just rediscovering like my love for PlayStation and all the franchises that come out in like the PS3 era and beyond that I just not been involved in.
Oh, quick throwback to our Batman Arkham news. Give us Batman Beyond as a video game. Yeah. Like, set it in 2077 cyberpunk world and give me the guy with the big red bat on his front from the cartoon. That was awesome.
I think Uncharted, I think it'll do fine. I think it might just be more of a slow burn.
Yeah. I think if they should have just waited and done the collection first. Like, if they do have a new collection in the pipeline, do that, and then people can play 1, 2, 3, and then jump onto this. But
I'm not keen to play a game like that where it's specifically called a Thief's End.
Yeah, like without knowing how you don't do the end without the middle and the stars.
The thing is, if you're interested, you do your research and realize, these are games I should really start at number 1.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just bring over the remastered collection as is.
Absolutely. So this little chart, I'm sure you guys have got it up in the Eurogamer article. Where do you think, just off the top of your heads, Miles Morales is going to sit, and where do you think Sackboy's Big Adventure is going to sit? I do actually think Sackboy will do worse than Uncharted, if I'm honest, just because it's just Sackboy. No disrespect to Sackboy, he's a cool little fella, but I just think that's one of them games where it's like, is anyone really clambering for Sackboy in 4K, like ultra settings on high PC fidelity?
It's not the same type of game, is it, for PlayStation?
Sackboy's the bottom of the list. I think Sackboy's the bottom of the list for me. I think Miles Morales will be close to Spider-Man, but not quite there. So probably somewhere between Spider-Man and Horizon.
So about
probably in that like
40,000,
low 60s. No, Horizon's 56. So I'd say like maybe close to 60.
Okay.
You're getting a lot of free Spider-Man codes with like hardware purchases at the moment. Like, I got mine free when I bought my graphics card. I got like a free kind of license for it.
Yeah.
It might just be like Miles Morales might do surprisingly well just based on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is why I'm putting it close to Spider-Man, but not quite there.
This one, it goes back to our discussion with the first story of the week. Clarity on what's what. These games are all out on PC in the highest form. We can't play PS5 games streamed. So like all of these iterations where like you've got the best version of the Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection here, and we can't play it if we don't have the console. We can't stream it. So like we're missing out on a generation of games now. Like God of War that comes out this month, we can't play in the cloud. We have to own it on the console. So, but I'm like, it's glad to see all these games. Like, if you'd have told me 5, 6, 7 years ago that all of these games would have been available to play on PC, like, that's crazy. Like, you can play them on the Steam Deck as well through Steam. That's amazing.
Yeah, it'll be a fancy ride.
But interesting to see. I'm sure we're going to see The Last of Us Part 1 remake released for PC in line with the HBO show as well.
I'll probably do it if I was Sony. I'd probably try and do a double. Is Last of Us Part 2 on PC yet?
No.
You could do a double drop.
Yeah.
But bring 1 and 2 simultaneously.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would get loads of hype. But rounding out the show this week, one final story, just a quick little fun one. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is, of course, out now. However, if you are picking up a physical copy, like I'm sure many of you do out there who don't, well, you can't play this in the cloud anywhere. Physical copies of Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 on the disc contains just 72.23 megabytes of data. So if you have a physical copy of this game and you put it in your disk drive and you boot it up, the pre-release update will require a 150 gig download size. Gentlemen?
If they just shipped a game that doesn't work, like, there's a useless disc. Like,
Yep.
Yeah, because you buy physical media, right? So you have that there to use. And I always say, like, I love the fact that I can dig out my old PlayStation 3 and my console, and even though I won't have the best version of the game because there won't have been the patch updates, I can still play the game disconnected. If you put this in, you're probably only going to get key art, an instruction manual.
Not even that. This is probably just the installer.
Yeah, 70 meg.
Like, I hate, like, one of the things I love about cloud gaming is, like, I'd have to, like, buy a game, be really hyped for it when, like, I finish work. I'm like, oh, yeah, I get to play it now. And then I have to wait for, like, however many hours to actually play the game. It's just super.
Yeah.
Not to mention, it's really wasteful as well. Like, shipping a lot of, like, plastic boxes with
nothing, hopes and dreams
nothing
in them.
in.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only advantage I can see of buying the physical media form of this game is, in 6 months' time on Amazon, it'll be like £20 cheaper. So if you don't need a day and date, you can get it cheaper.
Yeah.
That's the only advantage left of physical media in this situation.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, but
if
it's just
Activision
stupid.
just pull Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 in a couple of years' time, your disc is now worthless. Where if they had even just a pre-day one patch on disc, you could still play it in some form. But yeah, you're done.
Yeah. And of course, this comes in line with Activision prioritising kind of digital stuff. They do loads of incentives for digital pre-orders now. Early access to the campaign, for example. You could play it a few days earlier if you bought the Vault Edition, which is only available through digital means. So, again, yeah, 70 megabytes on a disc just seems pointless and a waste of everything, really. But yeah, Rob, one of my biggest frustrations is I wait all day for the damn Amazon guy to show up, or the game guy, or whoever I've ordered it from. And like you said, you get in from work, you finish it, and then you put the disc in, it goes, 2.5 hours or something. And that's with good internet. It still takes time, and it's like, why? And if the big chunk is on the disc, it helps obviously balance that a little bit more. But yeah, 72, like, geez, there's the photos I take on my camera phone are probably higher than 72 meg in quality now. So laughable. But that's what we'll end this week's show on. Thank you very much to all of our viewers and listeners who've tuned in for this week's episode of Talking the PS, your weekly PlayStation podcast, right here on Helix Cloud Games, where we round up all of the PlayStation news for your listening or viewing pleasure on youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games. If you want to keep in the loop, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click that bell for all of our live streams and other great shows like CloudQuest, our weekly show where we go off the beaten path and talk about a cloud gaming topic. Richie, what do we talk about on this week's show?
This week we comes out on Friday. We're talking about Project Keystone and Amazon Luna's Fire Stick.
Yeah, Xbox moving away from their dongle. Shake the dongle, wiggle the dongle, throw the dongle in the bin. We talk about that on CloudQuest. I don't know where I was going with that one, guys. Marvel Snap. And, of course, this week's show available on podcast services too. If you want to follow us on Twitter at Helix Cloud Games, you can do so, and across all other social channels. We'll be back this Thursday with a live stream of Chivalry 2, gentlemen, we're going for this week.
I think so, yeah.
Going to check out the medieval world of Chivalry 2, of course available on Game Pass, and go check out our fledgling first episode of XPass, our Xbox podcast, hosted by the Man of Many Pixels. If you haven't done so already, it came out yesterday, our first episode ever. Go check it out, give us some love. And a shout out to all of our Helix Heroes for that support. You made it happen. You literally, your patronage helped pay for the introduction that we commissioned for the show. Thank you very much. My name's been Chris.
I've been Richie.
And I've been Rob.
We've been Helix Cloud Games, talking the PS. Thanks for watching. Have a great week. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Marvel Snap.